AMD, I mean, some great numbers, but what did the market have to say about that?
Yeah, so amazing numbers on what I consider their core businesses, right? Data center up 80%, PC up 85%, but big drop-offs in gaming and embedded. And the market is looking for a beat raise, or you get you get blown out. And AMD saw what, a 9% decline based on what was a really good quarter because the street wanted a revision up. So let's peel back the onion here. And the outlook was slightly lower than expected. So data center, like I said, up 80%, and that's a combination of the MI300 data center AI GPU, and of course EPYC. Lisa had talked about, she believed that while they don't split out their numbers between MI and EPYC, Lisa said that they gained revenue share, citing what has been a soft spot in the market and for AMD, and that was an enterprise. So next generation of EPYC, it's called Turin. Lisa said the silicon's looking great. That means on schedule, for those who are counting up there. But the most important thing was that they upgraded the MI300 number from 4 billion to 3.5. And Dan, you and I have been chronicling this for
Other way around, dude. 3.5 to 4.
Sorry, 3.5 to 4. Thank you. We've been chronicling this since I think the initial number was a billion, or something super, super low. I do believe, and I'm sticking to my guns, and watch a show we did in December, that I think at the end it'll be about $6 billion for the year. And on PC, I mean, it was in the doldrums. It was post the C word, which I won't use, up big time. It's the Ryzen 8000 that's carrying the water here. That's the brand new design from the company. And, gaming, I mean, down 48%, Radeon console. And I got to tell you, I just don't know what turns around this business. And I know it's very heavily weighted to console. And, if the company doesn't bring out if Microsoft and Sony don't bring out new consoles, then how do you do that? But it's the PC gaming that is disappointing. And we're going to have to see for the NVIDIA comp when it comes down. The Xilinx business, AMD calls it embedded, down 46%, very similar to Altera, which was off 58%. Xilinx was off 46%. Listen, the market's trash, and their numbers were in the toilet. And there's really nothing that the company can do out there. We'll talk about how Lattice outperformed all the FPGA folks a little bit later. So listen, tough environment. AMD crushed it on their core businesses, and they were rewarded with a 9-10% decline.
Isn't it funny? Pat? I mean, look, this is where I was talking about earlier when I went on yesterday on the show, and I kind of talked about having to be perfect, and perfect, by the way, seems to be there was only one number that anyone cared about. I'm just being candid. With AMD, there was one number that anybody cared about. It was the MI300 number. The 3.5 billion revision to 4 just simply was not enough growth. You have heard about this $400 billion TAM over the next few years for infrastructure or for silicon for AI, right? And people want to see, I think they wanted to see 5. You heard numbers like 5 and 6 whisper. And I think Lisa's being conservative. I think the fact is, you said this, I'm going to agree with you. I think she knows there's a great possibility of more. I did hear a number, I believe in one of the sort of calls we were on, I heard a number of like 100 customers though. Obviously there's a high density to a couple of hyperscalers. And of course we know that NVIDIA is kind of feasting and famining on a handful of hyperscalers itself. And then it has a few of these new AI. I did a Fortune interview this week about not Cohere, CoreWeave. And CoreWeave got this huge valuation growth. And, these the small cohort of companies is buying up tons and tons of these GPUs.
Yeah.
And, I was talking to God, I'm trying to remember who I was talking to. The question was effectively, is this the biggest front load of all time? Meaning, is this market like this incredible front load? And then we're going to have to wait, right? I mean, at some point, they're going to have like a lot of this infrastructure is going to be built out. And the killer apps, I mean, they're coming. Of course, we're seeing things being built in real time. I saw some cool app that I think can replace me entirely this week. It was awesome.
Man, I hope I get replaced someday. It would
Hopefully,
be, you know,
hurry up,
I know.
hurry up. But like, oh yeah, it was Will Caloris. I was talking on Street Signs the other night, and he asked me, is this the biggest front load of all time? Like, is this like, and I mean, it was a good question because like, can this buying rate, and that's what I'm also saying is like this growth over growth period. I mean, when people are looking at markets, it's like, yeah, 357% or whatever number Nvidia was last quarter. Now they got to grow the last year at the same time. Now they got to grow over the 350%, 50% they grew a year ago. So what if they only grow 50% over 350? Are people going to be frustrated?
I mean, everybody's got their spreadsheet, and you're a smart guy. You've got the degree. I've got the degree. I mean, it's basically net cash flows to infinity is the value of the company. So
yeah. So I mean, look, there is no satisfactory number. There seems to be a couple things people are focused on. With AMD, it was that number. With other companies, it's the capex spend. I mean, why did Meta get crushed and Google and Microsoft got a big backing? And it was the difference was pretty much just Zuck's perspective on how much investment was going to be required to keep growing. I'm pretty sure from a standpoint of cash flow created and profitability and growth, Meta's off the charts in terms of how profitable they are, but people don't want them spending on virtual on reality labs because everybody's going to be buying, apparently according to Tim Cook this week, everybody's going to be buying one of those 27-pound headsets because they're doing awesome. God, what a crock of shit. Anyways, anyway, we'll come to that later. I don't have much else to say. You hit the AMD thing. I mean, look, the only other thing I'd say is the ramp on Ryzen looks great. I mean, Intel had a great 31% growth in client. You and I were kind of cheering them because there wasn't much else to cheer in that number. And then,
AMD shows up, does the mic drop with 85.
Geez. I mean,
yeah.
And obviously it wasn't Max. So it's not, they're winning share. I mean, they're growing share. They're doing very, very well right now. So AIPC is really coming later. It's not even here yet. And they're still getting these great numbers. So just wait for that. So that's it. That's all I got to say about that.
Yeah. One little adder, I think, AMD's data center business is honing in on the size of Intel's.